friends, it's Donna here, and I've got a fun card today that uses a product that, despite my years of stamping, I've never really owned, and that is coloured embossing powders. Pink and Main have just put out a whole bunch of coloured embossing powders, and as part of their design team, I was lucky enough to receive a set in the mail. I'm going to be using my favourite Rainbow 7. I like pink, not red, in my rainbows, and matching them with some inks from my stash to make a fun candle card. I'm using this birthday candles stencil set, also from Pink and Main, and it has 4 different layers. And so I'm going to start with just the basic candle layer, and I'm going to ink blend. The first tiny bit is at regular speed, and then I've sped everything up because everybody likes to see a rainbow developing, but nobody likes to sit and watch paint dry. I'm using just one blending brush for all of my colours, and I'm not washing it between them. I'm just rubbing off on the side a little bit of the extra ink, and I'm also working in rainbow order from the lightest colour, which is that lime green, so that if I do get a little bit of overlap and the last of the ink just coming out, it's no problem. Along the way, 2 of my original inks turned out to not have any ink in them. I'm holding off buying too much in the way of re-inkers and supplies while I'm living overseas. And so I've switched out for a darker blue and also brought in some worn lipstick at the end. I'm going to link below this video all of the colours that I used and all of the other supplies. So if you're wondering about exact colours, you can find the information down there. Once I've finished with the ink blending, I'm going to remove this stencil and get on with blending the flames. The stencils all line up exactly with one another, so I'm holding the candles in place, placing the flames stencil on top, and then carefully sliding out the candle layer so that I don't have to spend too much time working out how to align up the flames. Before I go on to the next step, I need to make sure that the panel's really dry because I don't want embossing powder sticking everywhere. I'm not one on my YouTube channel to say you must have this product or that product. I make things with products, but you can often just use the idea with a similar product or even with a completely different one. For example, if I use a flower stamp, you could use a different flower stamp to get a similar look. But I must say this anti-static tool has my heart. I've struggled in the past with anti-static bags that end up with powder all over my fingers, and I'm one of those people that doesn't really like that. And also with another anti-static powder that was in a container but didn't give me enough on the page, and so I was always having to unscrew the lid and tip a little bit out before I used the brush. But I have to say this one is giving me a really good coverage and keeping my hands clean. I've only had it for a little while, but I am a fan. I started out by heat embossing the top layer of the flames with the yellow embossing powder, and then I'm going to line up the main stamp with a clear sticky ink. I'm going to add my colours bit by bit across the panel. Every time I shake the powder off, I'm shaking it in the direction that is already covered with powder so that I don't get any powder where I don't want it. I use the same piece of paper below and just put it all back into the covers. I didn't notice any particular mixing of the colours. They seemed to stay very clean. If I was to make this card again, I would do one thing a little bit differently, and that is I would perhaps organise my powders out in separate areas and not spend the time putting the lids on and cleaning up each one as I went, because by the time I got to the lime green, the ink had dried a little bit and the coverage for that lime green is just slightly less than the other colours. The next step is to go through and heat emboss everything. Once the panel's dry, I'm going to make my sentiment. I'm using vellum, and for the first time in my life, I'm going to do black embossing powder on black ink. I usually stamp in black and use clear embossing powder, but I thought I'd give the black a try since I had it. To tell you the truth, I've always been really scared of it. I didn't want specks of black around. A speck of clear is much easier to hide. But it came off the vellum really cleanly, and I do like the rich black on black that it gives. So I think this will be my new go-to way to emboss in black on vellum. This sentiment comes from a stamp set called Party Animal, and I've used that several times for cards in the past. If you want to see those cards, have a little look over on my Instagram at donnadoll74 and you can see them there. I've cut the panel to size, and then I'm going to use a little double-sided tape to stick it down at the back. I've stuck a bit of green polka dot paper from the year-round dots and stripes set onto my card base, and then I'm going to mount up the panel. And I thought I'd leave in the footage of a little tricky thing I like to do, which is to fold back just 2 corners of my double-sided tape and then use the other 2 corners that don't have any sticky exposed and hold those to line the panel up on my card. And then once I'm happy with where the panel is, I just press down on the panel and slide the tape out along the sides, and that gives me a really nice straight edge. That's all for today's card. I'll leave you with some close-up photos, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Bye for now.